want a ticket straight to them pearly gates.
Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today we're going to talk about pretty much everything that the developers have revealed, everything that has happened, everything about Tekken. What I will not do is spoil the ending results of EVO France. I know a lot of people like to watch that tournament at their own pace and catch up, so you guys don't have to worry about that. What I also will say is that there is a developer interview with a lot of crucial information about the character Marizu. I will dedicate a full video to that in just a second, so subscribe for the future videos. Stay tuned. But for right now, we're starting off with some great news. The Esports World Cup is a tournament that's been going on for the past like 2-3 years, and it's been giving out a lot of money, $1 million. This is the biggest tournament of the year because of that price tag. This tournament is back for the year 2026, and they revealed their starting lineup. Now, when people did not see Tekken 8 on this list, everyone panicked. You know, people don't like Tekken 8. You know, Tekken 8 gets flack. We thought that Esports World Cup looked at all the negative publicity surrounding Tekken 8 and excluded them from this lineup. But the reason why I wasn't 100%, believing in that, or I didn't make a video about it, is because I know this year for EWC, Tekken 8 had bigger viewership than Street Fighter 6. So it makes sense for them to bring it back and make it bigger than ever, and they did that in a later post where they confirmed Tekken 8 to be at EWC 2026. So this is going to be big things for the pro players, something else for them to strive for and continue playing for. You also got to talk about the sponsors. Now that Tekken 8 is kind of a yearly thing at these tournaments, maybe these guys can keep that yearly sponsor. You also have the announcements of LCQ, which is taking place on January 31st, 2026, and then the Tekken World Tour Finals, which is February 1st, 2026. It's taking place in Sweden, so that's pretty interesting. I wonder what the developers will do regarding reveals. We'll talk about that in just a second, because I think the developers are doing something pretty interesting and also something that's never been done before. But first, I do want to get to Arslan's tweet where he says, top 8 Masters and Masters Plus should be first to 3. Players grind so hard to get there, it deserves better. Hope they change this. So you can see the pro players are still having their own ideas of things that they want to be implemented to the tournament scene the next time. You know, coaching is a big topic. People are asking for that to be all out banned. And like I said, once we get to the finals, we'll see what the developers have to say about what happened this year and what they plan to do next year, because that's usually when we see all the rule changes and stuff like that. And I know with Tekken 8 being such a guessy game, people would also like for it to be longer sets as well. Now, on the character Armor King, here's a person who creates art for the characters in the game of Tekken 8. They created this cool art here of this waifu girl character with Armor King on the shirt, season 2 on the legs. It's basically just like an Armor King type of promotional material. I always say that I like when the developers do these, and they should do more, and here's another one. So that's pretty cool. Now, on the topic of Armor King, he releases, this is the exact time from the tweet. Get ready for the comeback on October 14th, 1 a.m. CEST, October 13th, 4 p.m. PDT. Those are the 2 main time zones that they're talking about, and that's exactly when this character goes live. Now, what I will also add to this, and this isn't confirmed by the way, like I said, I'll make an update video and we'll see whether or not this is true, but what I am hearing is that the developers are not going to balance the game this patch with Armor King. They may do some things, but they're basically not going to balance the game, and they're just going to let it rock for what it seems the whole entire year. Look, this could be wrong information, but it seems like this version of Tekken 8, what we're playing right now, isn't going to change too much, and it's just going to carry all the way until season 3. The developers don't seem too motivated. If the statements are true, they don't seem too motivated to get in there and fix it. And also, my source for this information is the main man Sweet. He was talking about this on stream, so that is what we're going off of right now. Main man Sweet's pretty reliable. He has a lot of connections, and if anyone wants to know, it would be him. Now, as for the character Marizu, we finally got a look at her gameplay trailer, and it sparked this huge discussion around the player base. This tweet from FeedX, this is a comment from his chat. It describes the character pretty accurately. Plus on block, pole dancing. The fact that they went to Madagascar, the fact that they studied the culture, the fact that they were talking about African heritage, and then this is what they did, it kind of looks crazy, because like we know she used merengue and dambe, and I did see a couple of Superman punches in there looking like Josie at times, but then the majority of her moves being this huge, like, ogre abilities or sword out of nowhere. We'll see how it turns out, but for right now, it's dividing the player base, and I'll talk more about that in the future. future video because I think the players' reaction to it is really interesting. Because when you talk about the developers listening and learning, is this character more of the same or is this character moving in a new direction? You can also say the same thing with Armor King. We're waiting to see how broken he truly is. But for the new stage, you have this stage coming out on December the 1st/2nd. This is early access, by the way. And then the official release is December the 4th and the 5th. And that also goes for the character Marizu. This update will happen at the same time. These things will drop at the same time. So look forward to that. Mark your calendars. December is a long way away, but also this is around the time Clive dropped as well. I believe Clive was revealed on the 7th and then dropped on the 8th the next day or something like that. So even though it seems like it's far away, it's still in line with what they did in season 2. Now, when you talk about what they're going to do at the Tekken World Tour Finals, because keep in mind, Marizu, and this is the point that I was going to make earlier, Marizu will be the first final character of a season pass to release before the World Tour Finals and be a part of it. Usually the final character is released after, but Marizu is releasing a whole month before, which means she will be allowed in the tournament. And I actually like this kind of format because I think it really packs in the season 1 together. Season 1 starts with Evo Japan and it ends with the Tekken World Tour Finals, and all of the DLC is released, all of the moments are had, and then once you get past that Tekken World Finals, you get into a whole new season. So I like this and I hope they continue, but I do want to highlight this because this is the first time they have ever done this. I do know a lot of people are still complaining about the skin complexion. First, people talked about the face and how they wanted more in terms of that aspect, but now people are talking about how, you know, in her concepts, she looks really dark. She looks like she's African. But then in the gameplay, I mean, look at this. Super light, and then here's the concept. So I just don't understand where that, you know, color change is coming from. And I know a lot of people are just looking at these concepts that they keep releasing and say the skin doesn't look that way. This time around, I don't see no one complaining about the face, so I think they did a good job there, but the skin complexion is just noticeably different. And honestly, I think they're doing it to themselves. And then also you have this custom 4 for Marizu that is sending the community like howling. The character is definitely goonified. The shoulders is still going crazy at the same time. She has a lot of people excited. She has a lot of people angered. She has a lot of people worried, invested, a lot of things. We'll talk more about it in a future video. But what I also want to talk about is what happened at Evo. Before we do that, you got to talk about what the pros, some of the best pros were saying going into it. Arsenal about a month before tweeted, "My top 5 in Tekken 8 without order is Nina, Anna, Brian, Claudio, and Dragunov." A tournament that happened about a week ago, we saw it was dominated by Claudio's. We saw Ulsan dominate EWC with Dragunov. We saw Arsenal himself dominate a previous Evo with Anna and Nina. So you can see these characters do have power. Now, a character who is not on this list is Yoshimitsu. When you look at Nee's list, though, before we jump to that, he says top 5 strongest characters currently in competitive Tekken 8: Asuka, Raven, Anna, Alyssa, and Panda. Now, this list is a little outdated because some updates have passed, times is changed a little bit, but the game hasn't been overhauled too much. So I don't know if Nee feels this way too much, but the character that I do want to highlight here is Asuka. Now, the reason why I put emphasis on Asuka and Yoshimitsu is because those are the characters who basically was decimating Evo France. You have many tweets like this one from Shinblade. It says, "Nerf Asuka." That's all we need to read. You have this tweet here from Arsenal and Ash where he says, "This is Evo Asuka and Evo Yoshimitsu." King Ray Jr. responds to all of the hate that is festering for the characters Asuka and Yoshimitsu, and he highlights how used by the best Asuka and Yoshi players. And this is an interesting thing, right? When you talk about who was doing work with Claudio, it was like Jin mains, it was Shahid mains. When he was talking about who does work with like some of these other characters, it's just people switching characters. But in Evo France, yes, Yoshimitsu and Asuka is everywhere and they're doing great work. It's still the people who main those characters who are getting all this success out of them. And the reason I highlight this is because when you see tweets and conversations like this, it usually shapes balance. So now that Yoshimitsu and Asuka are once again in the talks of some of the strongest characters in the game, we'll see how the developers react when they do decide to balance this game.